Sometimes you meet someone who changes everything, and it takes years to realize they changed it for the worst. My mother-in-law knocked on my mom's door and said I needed to forgive him, that men are just like that I was being dramatic. I looked her in the eyes 8 months pregnant, swollen, exhausted, and said something I'll never forget. I was 7 months pregnant when I found the messages that confirmed what my body had already known for a while. You know he was cheating on me with his best friend from college. But let me rewind a bit because this story started way before that, back when I still believed in fairy tales and men who kept their word. I was 24 when I met Joaquin at a mutual friend's barbecue. It was late 2019, and I was recovering from a rough breakup, working as a graphic designer at a small agency. I lived alone in a rented apartment I could barely afford, but it was my freedom, you know? I'd always been the type who needed to prove to her family she could make it on her own, the middle child who never got much attention from her parents. My mom was always closer to my older sister, the perfect one, and my dad was always working. I guess that's why I kept looking for validation in all the wrong places, you understand. It was something I'd carried since childhood, this need to prove I was enough, that I was worth something. Joaquin showed up at that barbecue with a smile that lit up the whole place. Man, I remember it to this day. He was a civil engineer, 28 years old, drove a new car, had that serious, hard-working man vibe, wore a button-down shirt even on weekends, spoke politely, pulled out my chair so I could sit. Then he turned to me and said, "What a beautiful woman." And I melted, God. I just melted. We talked all night about everything. Family, dreams, those things you share when you feel an instant connection, right? He told me he came from a traditional religious family, that his mom was very present, and he valued that. Said he wanted to start a family, have kids, build a solid life. Me, who'd always dreamed of that, but pretended I didn't, found myself imagining a future with him before the barbecue even ended. Like, I was already picturing us married, with kids, the whole thing. The first 6 months were way too perfect, man. Way too perfect. He picked me up from work every day, brought flowers for no reason, met my family and won everyone over, especially my mom, who kept saying, "Now this is a real man, not those losers you used to date." And I was so proud, you know, like, look, I did it. I found the right guy. We traveled to the beach for his birthday in March 2020, and that's where he officially asked me to be his girlfriend, with a candlelit dinner and everything. I felt like the luckiest woman in the world. God, I thought I'd hit the jackpot. But there were these little things I just ignored, thinking it was care, protection, love. He didn't really like it when I went out with my friends, you know, so he'd say, "Babe, don't you think we should stay in together? You spend so little time with me because of work." And I'd think, how sweet, he wants to be with me. He'd check my phone whenever I left it around, and when I questioned him, he'd laugh and say, "Couples don't have secrets, or do you have something to hide?" And I'd think, right, no, he's right. We shouldn't have secrets. He started commenting on my clothes like, "Don't you think that top is too low cut? You don't need to get attention like that. You already have me." And again, I thought it was care, that he was protecting me from other men, that he loved me so much he got jealous. But I didn't see any of this as control, you understand. I saw it as intense love. You know, that soap opera thing we're raised to believe is romantic. And when my best friend Julia tried to warn me over lunch in March 2020, I cut her off immediately. She said, "Girl, I'm worried. Joaquin seems really controlling." And I responded, "You're just jealous because I found a good guy and you only end up with trash." Today I cry remembering the look on her face, the hurt in her eyes. God, I was so unfair. But back then I was already completely manipulated. I just didn't know it. Then the pandemic hit and we moved in together in May 2020. His family had a 2-bedroom apartment downtown that was empty, and he suggested I leave my cramped place to save money. He said, "Let's split the bills. It'll be better for us, babe." It made sense, right? We'd save money, spend more time together. But as soon as I moved in, the rules completely changed, man. He started working from home and monitored my every move. "Who are you talking to? Why are you smiling at your phone? Let me see that conversation." I worked in the living room. he in the bedroom, but every half hour he'd appear with some excuse to check what I was doing. Like getting water, looking for a paper, but always peeking at my screen. My friends stopped inviting me to video calls because he always found a way to show up, to participate, to make everything uncomfortable until they gave up. Julia called me once crying, saying, "I can't take it anymore. Every time we try to talk, he shows up. It's like you can't have a moment to yourself." And I got mad at her, people. I got mad at her. Said she was exaggerating, that he just wanted to be part of my life. Look at how blind I was. It was around that time he reconnected with Mariana, this so-called best friend from college. She'd moved back to town after years living elsewhere and reached out to their college group. Joaquin started talking about her all the time, like, Mari got an amazing job. Mari's doing her master's. Mari was always so smart. At first, I didn't even care. Thought it was nice that he valued old friendships, I thought, that's great. He keeps in touch with friends. He values people. But there was something that bothered me. Deep down. That feeling when you sense something but don't want to admit it? He talked about her with a different sparkle in his eyes. But I ignored it. I always ignored my intuition. In August 2020, he proposed. It was on a Sunday morning, nothing too elaborate. He just put the ring in front of me during breakfast and said, "Let's get married? I want you with me forever." I said yes, crying, emotional, thinking my life was finally coming together. I called my mom screaming with happiness, posted photos on social media. The whole family celebrated. We started planning the wedding, set for June 2021. I was on cloud 9, picking out my dress, decorations, everything. But then things started getting really weird, man, really weird. He began working late constantly, came home at 10, 11 at night smelling like perfume, different perfumes. I'd ask, "What's that smell?" And he'd say, "Oh, I hugged a coworker, she wears a lot of perfume." When I pressed him, he'd flip it. "You're paranoid, you're insecure, you need therapy." And I believed him. I started doubting myself, thinking maybe I really was paranoid. Maybe it was pregnancy hormones messing with my head when I got pregnant in November 2020. The pregnancy wasn't planned, but we were happy, or at least I was. He seemed distant, said he was stressed with work, with wedding planning. I blamed myself, thought I wasn't being understanding enough. Mariana started appearing more and more group dinners I wasn't invited to. Weekend trips I couldn't go on because I was pregnant and feeling sick. He always had an excuse, always made me feel like I was the problem. In February 2021, 7 months pregnant, swollen feet, back pain. I woke up at 3 in the morning and he wasn't in bed. I found him in the living room, phone in hand, smiling at the screen. That glow I'd only seen when he talked about Mariana. I asked who he was talking to and he jumped, locked the phone, said it was nothing. "It's 3 in the morning, Joaquin. Who are you texting?" He got defensive, said I was suffocating him, that he needed space, that I'd become unbearable since getting pregnant. The next morning while he was in the shower, I did what I swore I'd never do. I looked at his phone. The password was our anniversary date because he'd said, "Couples who trust each other share passwords." I opened it shaking and found everything. Months of messages with Mariana, explicit photos, videos, plans to meet up, messages saying how he couldn't wait to leave me, how the pregnancy had complicated everything, how he was only staying because of the baby, messages from her asking when he'd finally end things with me, messages from him saying he would soon after the baby was born, that he couldn't do it while I was pregnant because it would look bad. I read it all with my hand on my belly, feeling my son kicking inside me while my world collapsed. There were messages dating back to October 2020, right after I got pregnant. Messages about them having sex in our apartment, in our bed, while I was at work. Details about how she was so much better than me. How I was boring. How pregnancy had ruined my body. I sat there, phone in hand, frozen, until he came out of the bathroom. He saw my face and knew. He tried to grab the phone from me, but I held on tight. "How long?" I asked, my voice shaking. He tried to deny it, took the phone from my hand and said, "It's not what you think." I laughed without humor and said, "It's not what I think?" I read everything, Joaquin. Everything. Photos, messages, plans. You slept with her in our bed. Our bed. Then he tried to minimize it. It was a mistake. I got carried away. She took advantage of a weak moment. And then he went on the attack because they always do that, right? You suffocate me. You got annoying, always complaining, always demanding attention. I needed an escape. You forced me to do this. If you were a better wife, this wouldn't have happened. I didn't even react, people. I just didn't react. I stood up with that 7-month belly, grabbed my purse, grabbed the most important things I could carry, clothes, documents, and left. He followed me around the apartment saying, "You can't leave, you're pregnant, where are you going?" And I turned to him and said, "Anywhere that's far from you." And I left, walked down those 3 flights of stairs with that huge belly, got in my car and drove straight to my mom's house. When I got there, it was 7 in the morning. I rang the doorbell crying. My mom opened the door in her robe looking startled and said, "Honey, what happened?" I walked in, sat on the couch and told her everything, crying in her lap like a child, sobbing, feeling my son moving inside me while I fell apart. She hugged me and said, "You're not going back there. That man is dead to you. You're staying here with me and your dad. We'll take care of you and this baby." My dad, who was always quiet, who never got involved in anything, was furious when he found out. Wanted to go beat Joaquin up, had to be held back by my brothers, kept saying, "I'm going to destroy that bastard," mistreating my pregnant daughter. The next 2 months were the hardest of my life, man. The hardest. Joaquin called me every day, crying, begging for forgiveness, saying he'd ended things with Mariana, that it was a mistake, that he wanted his family. Sent messages at dawn. "I love you. Please forgive me. Think about our son. He needs his father." And I'd block him, unblock him, read them, cry, block him again. His mom showed up at my mom's house a week later, rang the doorbell. My mom answered and she asked to talk to me. I went downstairs, 8 months pregnant already, huge. And she said, "Honey, you need to forgive my son. Men are just like that. He made a mistake, but he's sorry. You need to think about the baby. Children need both parents." I looked that woman in the eyes and said, "You raised a lying, cheating son who deceived me while I was 7 months pregnant, and you still want me to go back? Never. I'm never going back to him." And I closed the door in her face. His whole family painted me as the villain on social media, posting long rants saying I was dramatic, that I didn't know how to forgive, that I was depriving my son of his father out of pride, out of vindictiveness. All his friends blocked me. But the truth had come out, and the people who stayed on my side were the ones who really mattered. My friends, who I'd pushed away, came back. Julia called me crying. "I knew it. I always knew something was wrong. I'm sorry I didn't insist more." And I said, "No, I'm sorry. I was horrible to you." My son, Miguel, was born in March 2022, March 15th. Natural birth, painful, liberating. It hurt so much, so much. But when he was born and they placed him on my chest, I looked at that perfect little face and thought, "For you, I did everything right. For you, I left." Joaquin was there at the hospital because I let him. After all, he was the father. He had the right to meet his son. But when he walked into the room, tried to kiss my forehead, tried to hug me, I pulled away and said, "You can see your son. You can hold him, but don't touch me. Don't come near me." The pain on his face didn't move me. Not anymore. That man was dead to me. The divorce process was a war, people, a real war. He tried to claim I was emotionally unstable, that I suffered from postpartum depression. I really was in treatment, but because of him, that I was going to keep him from seeing his son, that I was using the child as a weapon. I got an excellent lawyer through a friend of my mom's, Dr. Fernanda, an incredible woman who'd been through something similar. And we fought for every one of my rights, every dollar of child support, every visitation weekend. He had to leave the apartment that belonged to his family, because we discovered in the process that it was in his grandmother's name, and she, when she found out about the cheating, took my side. She called me and apologized for her grandson, said I had her support. I got to keep the apartment until Miguel turned 2, enough time to rebuild. to save money, to start over. The rebuilding was slow and painful, but it happened, you know. I went back to work when Miguel was 4 months old, remote at first, with my mom helping with him. Then I went back to the office part-time, then full-time. I did therapy twice a week for a whole year, crying every session, but healing little by little, understanding that none of it was my fault. I won back my friends, especially Julia, who forgave me and became Miguel's godmother. She told me, "I always knew you'd come back to yourself. You just needed the right time, and I was going to wait however long it took." Today, in October 2025, Miguel is 3.5. He's a beautiful, smart boy, full of life, who laughs loud, who hugs me every day, who doesn't carry the pain I carried. Joaquin sees him on alternating weekends and pays child support on time because the court forces him to, because I learned I can't trust his word for absolutely anything. He never got back with Mariana. She blocked him from everything when she found out he'd tried to get back with me, that he'd lied to her too, saying he was going to leave everything for her. I heard through others that he's with someone else now, a younger girl, and I can only feel sorry for her. Hope she doesn't go through what I went through. I moved to a smaller apartment, but it's all mine. Paid off with money from selling some things and help from my family. I decorated it my way, full of plants and life, photos of Miguel everywhere, bright colors. I got promoted at work. Now I'm the design team coordinator. I make good money. I support myself. I go back to therapy when I need to. I'm not ashamed of it. I've been going out with friends, traveling with Miguel, living the life I always deserved to live. I took him to the beach this year, went back to Miami. But this time it was different. It was light. It was happy. It was me and my son building sandcastles and being truly happy. I still haven't dated anyone seriously. And that's okay. That's really okay. I'm learning to love myself first, to trust my intuition, to never again ignore the red flags that appear in front of me. Sometimes I'm afraid to trust again, to open up again, but I know it will pass, that one day I'll be ready. If there's one thing I learned from all this, it's that real love doesn't control, doesn't isolate, doesn't diminish. Real love doesn't cheat on a woman who's 7 months pregnant. Real love doesn't make you doubt your sanity, doesn't make you feel crazy. I wasn't crazy when I felt something was wrong. My intuition was right all along, from that first message from Mariana, from that first different perfume, from that first, "You're paranoid." And today, I promise myself, I'll never again ignore that inner voice trying to protect me. Never again. For anyone reading this and identifying with any part of my story, listen to what I'm going to tell you. You're not crazy. You're not dramatic. You're not too demanding. You're not jealous. You're not paranoid. You deserve to be truly loved, with respect, with truth, with presence. And most importantly, you can start over. Yes, you can. It's going to hurt. It's going to hurt a lot. It's going to be hard. You're going to cry until you have no tears left. But one day, you'll look back and be grateful you had the courage to leave, the courage to choose yourself. I'm grateful every day that I left, that I gave my son a whole mother and not a destroyed one. If you're going through this, leave, for God's sake. Leave. You deserve more. You always deserved more. And if you know someone going through this, reach out your hand. Don't judge. Just embrace them. Because sometimes we just need someone who believes in us when we can no longer believe in ourselves. Take care, be well, and always remember, you are strong, you are capable, and you will make it. From which city are you watching? Leave it in the comments.